Episode 151 of The Actors Room highlights Rosemary's Baby, 1968. Directed and written by Roman Polanski, based on the novel by Ira Levin, written just the year before. Starring in this movie, Mia Farrow, John Cassavetes, and Ruth Gordon, which will garner her an Academy Award and a Golden Globe. This movie is classified as one of the greatest horror films ever made, and it'll kick off a string of horror films just like it in the future. So I hope you sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode of The Actors Room highlighting Rosemary's Baby 1968. Here we go. How far down can a mother's love go? Well, pretty fucking far for Rosemary. This is a disturbing film filled with paranoia. It has many great characters, giving off eerie, creepy vibes. I not only consider this to be one of the greatest horror movies ever made, I also consider it to be one of the greatest movies I've ever seen. I would put it up there with It's a Wonderful Life in terms of it being a great Christmas movie and just being a great film. The novel, Rosemary's Baby, was such a huge success and so fascinating that it grabbed the attention of many people in the entertainment business. One of them, Bill Castle. He was a producer and a director, and he optioned his home, mortgaged his home, to put up the money to get the rights to Rosemary's Baby and make it into a picture. He wanted to direct it. Grabbed the attentions of one of the executives over at Paramount Studio named Robert Evans. Robert Evans was becoming known in the business at Paramount Studio, a hard-nosed producer, doing films like Barefoot in the Park with Robert Redford and Jane Fonda, and The Odd Couple, two very successful films. He was on his way and thought Rosemary's Baby was a bona fide hit if he can get it off the ground. Ultimately, Robert felt that Bill Castle wasn't right to direct this film. He wanted somebody, a more interesting director. Robert felt that a European actor named Roman Polanski would be perfect to direct this film. Polanski at this time only had directed films overseas. This would be his first project in America. Robert Evans lured Mr. Polanski to America in the hopes of Polanski directing a ski movie. Wait a minute, what? A ski movie? Well, why is that? Roman Polanski was a big skier. He loved the slopes. And Robert Evans promised him he could direct a movie called Downhill Racer. And another connection to a very recent episode I just did not that long ago about Robert Redford. Robert Redford was in Downhill Racer. Polanski was promised to direct that film. He came over to America, met Mr. Evans, and as Mr. Evans placed the script of Downhill Racer into Mr. Polanski's hands, he also handed him something else. Material, literature, about another project, Rosemary's Baby, and Polanski's like, what is this? And Robert simply explained, well, it's another project I think you might be interested in. Take a look at it. Tell me what you think. Just take a look at this one before Downhill Racer, though. Is that okay? And Polanski said, okay. Roman explained that he went to his hotel room that night, started reading Rosemary's Baby's literature, and couldn't put it down. He said his eyes burning at 5 o'clock in the morning, finishing this material, got him into a state of just interest for this possibility. When he approached Evans the next day, he said, this is the one we're doing. Downhill Racer sounds fascinating. Sure. But Rosemary's Baby is something I could really sink my teeth into. In doing research on Mr. Robert Evans, who also helped get The Godfather produced, by the way, I heard he was quite the character, this guy. In just doing research on The Godfather and this one, Rosemary's Baby, proves just how conniving Mr. Evans was, luring Roman Polanski to America in the hopes of directing a skiing flick. And then his main purpose, though, was to get him over to do Rosemary's Baby. Always playing games. This game that Hollywood plays, I think they do it a lot. And Roman Polanski was a highly touted director, I think, in Europe for sure. In America, not so much. It goes to show you how deep Robert Evans was into film. I find, even though he was conniving and hard-driven, Evans really knew about film. He did. And he also knew about people. He knew how to press their buttons. I think that although Robert Evans will start his career as an actor and not do well, he wanted to be in the entertainment field in some way and felt producing was the way to go. I think he also would have been a very good director. Okay, so now that Robert Evans has Polanski, you got him. Polanski goes to work. He says, Bob, I'm not only a director, but I'm a writer too. I could take this novel and turn it into a screenplay. Robert said, get to work. And he did right away. Polanski says it only took him about 9 to 10 days to complete his very first draft of Rosemary's Baby. I believe his first draft was around 200 and some pages, which is a lot. Most screenplays today written 90 pages. And 90 pages is about an hour and a half. You consider every page to be a minute. So there you go. That was a very long first draft for Roman. So Polanski ends up going right to work after this with production designer Richard Silbert to tighten up the script. Silbert, brilliant in his own right, production design-wise. Just production design, period. Said that he and Polanski hit away and got the script tightened up within 3 to 4 weeks. It was brought to Robert Evans. He looked over it, felt it to be brilliant. Polanski says that of all the writing he ever did, converting a novel into a screenplay, this was the easiest and the most fun to do. He felt that the dialogue within the text of the novel was so good that he transferred it over almost word for word. Now the hardest part. Casting. Who's going to be Rosemary? And of course, there's going to be many opinions on who the star should be. Roman had his, and then Robert Evans also had a different opinion. Who did Roman want? Well, in the novel, Rosemary is an all-American girl, okay? And as Polanski felt, should be milk-fed, curvy, that sort of type. He wanted Tuesday Weld. Robert Evans felt differently. Of course, he wanted someone waif-like, he said. And there was one actress he had on his radar. Very unknown at the time, especially in cinema, but noticed on the television. A soap opera type show called Peyton Place, Mia Farrow was setting herself up to be a star. And Robert Evans liked her flair. There was something different about Mia Farrow. She had a sensitivity. And like I said, she was gaining popularity on TV, but another reason why she was popular is because of her recent relationship at that time with Frank Sinatra. She married Frank Sinatra when she was 21, and he was, ding, 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 50. 50. 50, 21. 21, 50. I think you know where I'm going here, folks. So, doing research on Rosemary's Baby, I had to look into this. What was going on there? And in doing so, and don't want to get too much into it, because we're going to try to stick with Rosemary's Baby. But when we discuss a flick like this, we got to look at its star, Mia Farrow. And folks, she had a really messed up childhood. Her family was in the business, especially her parents, John Farrow, and her mother, Maureen Sullivan. Both very much in the business. And from what I hear, John the father was a major douchebag. A lot of people in the business did not like or trust John at all. The mother, she seemed pretty nice. But let's just say this. From what I heard and did research on, Frank Sinatra was at one time married to Ava Gardner. And Ava Gardner had a thing with John Farrow, like 15 years before that. And it just seems to me there was a lot of weird, crazy stuff going on because Frank will end up marrying John's young daughter. What is going on? We can't go too far into that. But I think there's some interesting questions. And I'm sure they will garner interesting answers in the future. We may dive into some of that stuff later on, not in this episode. We don't have the time. But maybe in a future episode, if I ever do Frank Sinatra, holy shit, would that be an episode? I mean, folks, Sinatra was just, when I think of Sinatra, at that time, there was nobody bigger. You think how big maybe a Marlon Brando was, or when I'm thinking about big stars like Michael Jackson, they exceed everything a stardom could give you. That was Frank Sinatra. Big star. So anyways, let's get back talking about Rosemary's Baby's casting process. Guess who won out? It wasn't going to be Polanski who wanted Tuesday Weld. It was Robert Evans. I think Evans got his way a lot, and he got his way again. It was Mia Farrow that got the role. And it was a good choice. It was. It was the right choice. Mia Farrow, no matter how crazy and messed up her life is, or how weird and crazy she is, she's a marvelous actress. You can't take that away from her. She's above marvelous. And you see how marvelous she is as Rosemary. She does a wonderful job. So now that they have the main character, they need to cast the husband. There was one actor Robert Evans wanted the most. Robert Redford. That's right. Mr. Redford was supposed to be Guy. The husband's name is Guy. And he's an actor. Robert Redford didn't want to do it. Unfortunately, that was the case. But you get another actor that, of course, I adore. I think he's one of the most interesting. He may not be the greatest director. He may not be the greatest actor. But I find John Cassavetes as Guy to be one of the most interesting artists of the past century. Just for his passion. I could feel his passion when I see him act. I can feel his passion when he directs. He's just got so much energy, artistic energy. Polanski got his way on this one. He offered the choice of Cassavetes. They were friends, and he respected John. And although Cassavetes, as Guy, did a wonderful job, he clashed mightily with Polanski. And before I did the research on this, I felt this would not be a surprise if I found that Cassavetes and Polanski butted heads, and they did. And I'll tell you why. Cassavetes was an actor and a director. Polanski was an actor and a director. And both of them in their same rights, I felt, were much better directors than actors. Cassavetes has his way of doing things, and Polanski has his way of doing things. Polanski is by-the-book director, one of the greatest directors with his knowledge of the camera, with the lenses. He knew cameras better than cameramen. And then you had Cassavetes on the other side. Wonderful director, yes. Cameras? He was all about behavior, improv, living moment to moment. He didn't like how Polanski didn't let him improvise. He's like, Roman, why do we have to say everything word for word? Let me roam around the room. Let me improvise here and there. Polanski had nothing to do with that. And then John would complain about the shoes he would wear. I feel more comfortable in my tennis shoes, he said. But Polanski's like, whoa, John, you're going to have to walk around in dress shoes every now and then. So they clashed. And what I find interesting is that Mia says that when the picture started and they were bumming around together off set, she was jealous the way Roman and John hung out a lot and had motorcycles that they rode around on and just chummed around together. She felt left out. But by halfway through the picture, Mia was the one getting all the attention because Cassavetes was pissing Polanski off. And I really do believe that Polanski did respect Cassavetes, yes, but I think he regretted hiring John. I do. And I find that interesting. It was the director hats that, John would wear. But John, and I love you, I do. This was Roman's picture. You gotta toe the line. And I get it. An actor wants to feel free. And John didn't feel free in his acting with Roman. And Roman not backing down to John shows just how good of a director Roman is. And I think would John have done the same thing with an actor butting heads with him? Saying, John, we're too free. And that's interesting note because Peter Falk had issues with Cassavetes directing him. So you could see that no matter what kind of a director you are, you're going to run into acting problems. And Cassavetes ran into the same thing with Peter Falk. So let's just put it this way. Before we get into the picture, and this is not going to be a long episode, folks, I found this whole production to be podcast worthy, the significance of the film, the very first kind of psychological horror film where you don't have to come around the corner scaring somebody, where you don't have a lot of blood everywhere. It was just a creepy movie, and Polanski's directing was phenomenal in it. I felt that just the production itself would be something that I could touch on right before Halloween here in 2025. But ultimately, this is the Actors Room podcast. We talk about film. We talk about actors and directors, producers, screenwriters, and what it takes to make a film. And Rosemary's Baby was such a passion project for a lot of people. It just wasn't a film like for example, Polanski doing Downhill Racer. Oh, he likes skiing, and it's just gonna be a fun little film, and we're gonna film some people coming down a hill. It's like, I mean, I like Downhill Racer. It was a fine movie, but it's no Rosemary's Baby. I mean, come on, folks, think about it. I'm not going to be doing a Downhill Racer podcast episode. It's just never going to happen. The film isn't fascinating enough. But Rosemary's Baby is. Am I right? It's got some interesting topics it brings up. I mean, this was made in 1968, right in the middle of all the change in America. And it was such a wonderful time for film. I think one of the people involved in this project, the production designer, felt that this was sort of the time period where the second coming of the golden age of cinema arose. It was around that time. And as a stark contrast of what's going on today here in 2025, boy, we are on the other end of that, where today we're just remaking everything because we're running out of ideas. Come on, people. This is why I love indie films so much, is because they're original for the most part, and they have something to say. They may be gritty and real. And that's what this show is, The Actors Room. It's gritty, it's real, it's not fake. What I give you is my opinion. What I give you is pretty much the facts. I do a lot of research on these projects. And what you get out of my show is passion. You get that feel for art in film, mostly film. And with Rosemary's Baby, it does this for me. It makes me feel. When I watch it, I'm moved by it. If you know that about my show, I'm big on that. I want to feel moved. With this one, I'm disturbed. I'm itchy. There are certain scenes I have to stop. I get up. I'm not kidding. I stop it. I pause it. I get up. I walk around a little bit. I'm like, I just kind of, like, you got spiders on you. You kind of brush them off. Well, this movie does that to me. So not only is it the story, the plot line, it's the directing. Roman Polanski does I can't think of the word, okay? But what he does behind the camera and what he does with his actors, and with the screenplay, he wrote it, he knew exactly what he was doing. And before we move on, I want to note that Roman was so involved with everything surrounding this film, including the casting process. This is what he did. After casting Mia, and then casting John Cassavetes, the two main characters, they had to sort of worry about everyone else. And Polanski felt that the best thing to do about this was to draw all the remaining characters he saw in his mind when he read the novel and then turned it into a screenplay. He drew them, every other character in the plot. And when he was done drawing them, he gave them to the producers and said, do what you can. And that's exactly what they did. And as far as Roman is concerned, the rest of the cast were pure joy to work with. Mia, a little weird, but, she's a little flaky, but fun. And they have John, all serious and just method, but just improv and being all artsy. And the rest of the Hollywood cast, the older cast, excluding Charles Grodin, were a joy, Roman says. So let's get into the other wonderful performance and actress in this film that must be noted before I move on. Ruth Gordon. What a character actress. She's so good in this, she bothers me. But that's her job. She's bothersome. She's weird. She's intrusive. And she nails it. Boy, I don't like her character, but I love the actress. She does it. And although I've said many times in my show, one of the greatest obstacles an actor can have is to turn an unlikable character likable in some way. And Ruth Gordon takes it to another level with her acting in this, because she almost comes completely all around 360. because she does her job right off the bat with the character. Okay, you get it? But she's also that intrusive, bothersome character where you're just like, God, I want you to go away. And if this was happening to me in real life, you would just bother me. And you could tell in Mia Farrow's Rosemary, that's what she's going through. She's just bothered by her. She wants this lady to leave her alone. She's knocking on the door all the time. Rosemary, bothering her in the film. Because we're not going to get too much into the plot, folks. But in the film, when you watch it, Ruth Gordon's character is annoying. She's nosy. These are the people I don't like. And most people don't want their private areas or their private space intruded upon. Simple, right? Okay? That's what happens here in this film. And Gordon's so good. She wins an Oscar for her performance. Okay, a bit of the plot. Rosemary and Guy, married. He's an actor. She's supportive of her husband. The one thing she wants is a family. Guy's on the fence about this. Guy is more interested in his career as an actor than almost anything else. They move into a beautiful apartment building. In this building, the building that it was filmed in New York City is called the Dakota. It's got a strong, creepy history. And to this day, that is the building that John Lennon was coming out of, living in at the time, shot and killed right there. So, right off the bat, there you go. But, I mean, this was in 1968. This was made in, this building already had a shady history. And Roman explains that it was one of the most important characters in the film, the building. And it was. Look at that, the nuance of this film. The beautiful building, although beautiful, yes, just odd, old architecture, spacey. And it was great for the film having all that space. They did a wonderful job in the setting. And it just added to the mystery and the wonderfulness of this film. A friend of Rosemary and Guy warned them, don't move into that place. It's haunted. Witches were doing witchy things there. He's explaining that this isn't really a very nice place to live. You may want to reconsider. But Guy and Rosemary have starry eyes. They think it's a perfect place for them. And I'm stepping back from this situation and really taking a look at it here. Okay. You have an actor in 1968 moving into this really expensive looking place. So it tells me that Guy is a very successful actor. He must be. And Rosemary sort of explains that he does get consistent work, but at the moment, not so much. So I think Guy, his character, Cassavetes, is worried. He's worried about his job, his livelihood. So Rosemary ends up meeting a woman while she's doing her laundry. And her name is Terry. She's a former drug addict and is staying with the Cassavetes, the old couple. She says they're nice people. They took me in and they gave me this charm around my neck. It's smelly, but they say it's for good luck. Well, this young lady's luck runs out. She ends up throwing herself out of the apartment window of the Cassavetes, the older couple she's staying with. This is disturbing, of course, and I had to get into the very beginning of the plot to set up the craziness that happens right after that. Because soon enough, Rosemary and Guy are invited for a dinner with the older couple. And the older couple, their names are Minnie and Roman. They're odd, they're interesting, and you can tell Mia Farrow's character Rosemary doesn't like them. Guy, on the other hand, does. So what's going on there? Why is Guy intrigued? I'll tell you why. In so many words. Okay. Minnie and Roman are witches, warlocks, evil people. And somehow, within the course of that evening, Roman convinces Guy that he can pull strings for him in the entertainment field if they let them impregnate his wife, and that's it. So, okay, I'm trying to make sense of this in my mind, where in the course of one, it may not have exactly happened that night all the way, but they definitely grabbed the attention of Guy. Maybe this is what happened. The very first night, Roman got him interested in an idea, saying, hey, Guy, I know people in the business, and if you keep listening to my deal that I may offer you, I promise you will do well. And I find that intriguing. That Roman Polanski, Robert Evans, and all the other people involved in this project felt that this would be an interesting concept surrounding this plot. Think about it. It really does revolve around the temptation of Guy and him actually biting the apple to be a successful actor, and how Hollywood can do that to people, selling your soul. And that's exactly what Guy does. Because if he doesn't, we don't have a film now, do we? So wouldn't you know it, a few days later, Guy gets a phone call. Hey, one of our main actors in the play we're doing has gone blind. Would you like the part instead? And, Guy's like, wow, I would hate to get the part that way, but of course I'll take it. Things start falling in line for Guy. But Guy has to deliver in so many words. He has to impregnate his wife with a demon seed. And the scene, the rape scene, was really well done. It wasn't disturbing to me. It wasn't. When you think about all those other sort of horror movies you've seen in the past, about disturbing images, they're weird and off-putting, what Roman did, but it was sort of done in a classy way. From what I heard, Mia Farrow, there was a body double used in that scene for the most part. Although I heard John Cassavetes went all out. He was naked, and one of the only people naked during that scene. They're supposed to be all naked. Well, John, being such the artist, he went naked. Of course he did. But I think you know what I mean. It wasn't like, oh my God, where you're watching a movie and you have to, look away. There are times I get up, but I pause it. And I get up and I come back and then I unpause it. But with this, it's not too bad. Like, maybe the most disturbing thing about the scene is seeing the devil's eyes. I think that's the main focus with the devil eye thing. But that's about it. The disturbing thing is it was actually a rape where, okay, right before the rape, she's drugged. And her husband has to pick her up and take her to bed. And they're trying to get pregnant at this time. And it was supposed to be a night of, having fun, having a baby. And because she was drugged up and passing out, they're like, well, I guess we'll do it another night. But then Guy decides to actually have sex with her while she's unconscious. And that's the rape. And the way he brings it up the next morning, like, there's scratches on her back. And she notices the scratches. And he goes, oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm going to, get those nails taken care of. They're very sharp. And he mentions that, I couldn't help myself. I felt, how can we pass up baby night? Oh, don't you hate Guy now? That's the first time you're like, okay, he's shady. Okay. Guy is definitely shady. But how much do I hate this guy? I hate him a lot right now. And it starts with that scene. The scene right after the rape, and he admits that he raped her. So ultimately, of course, Rosemary gets pregnant. Oh my God, the whole building is just, I guess that's just the way it was in 1968. You got pregnant, the whole building knows. But of course, the whole building is satanic for the most part, and they're thrilled that the demon seed implanted within Rosemary. You should see how happy these people are. It's like they're having a baby. Rosemary goes and visits her doctor. It's a nice little visit. He tells her to take pills. They take some blood. And that actor is Charles Grodin. Very early in his career, I love Charles Grodin. He's a very interesting guy as a person. I love him as an actor. And it was after Rosemary's Baby that his career really started to take off. It was the success of the film and the fact that Charles Grodin is a very interesting character. But of course, the old couple, the Castavets, they got to have it their way. They know everything. They offer up their doctor. Oh, he's the best in the world. And he's the best doctor for you. And within minutes, boom, 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 couple of phone calls, she's in with this doctor. Dr. Saperstein? Is that what it is? Yeah, that's it. And even Guy, the husband, says, oh, don't worry about your other doctor. I'll call him up. I'll tell him some reason why. Blah, blah, blah. And the pregnancy, especially in the very beginning, Polanski and all of the makeup artists and so on did just an incredible job making Mia Farrow look sick. She looked really sick and thinner. She's already pretty thin, Mia Farrow, but they made her look even thinner. And one of the friends that visits her in the film notes, wow, you look like you've lost 20, 30 pounds, which means she probably weighed about 40 pounds. But they did a really nice job. I wanted to note that because I don't note that very often in my podcast shows about makeup and things like that. But when I feel it necessary, like for example, in this case, Rosemary really does look sick and thinner than she really was. And Farrow as an actress here pulls it off. I believe her 110%. That she is sick, that she's in pain and misery. I get it, right? I can identify with that. When I get kidney stones, it's a pain that lingers. It radiates, and you're so uncomfortable. You're so much in pain that you can't hide it. She even tries to deal with it at one point, and it's just wonderful acting by a wonderful actress. And let's note that her friend Hutch, that noticed how sick she was, how horrible she looked, was concerned. Something wasn't right. Changing doctors, not taking the right pills, under this umbrella of the building and how they're controlling her. They found out that Hutch was asking questions and getting too close to the truth. Hutch gets sick, goes into a coma, and ends up dying. And before he dies, he gives Rosemary a book about witchcraft, turning her on to something's not right, get out of this. And Rosemary ultimately starts to feel better in her pregnancy, but slowly realizes that something is going on. There's too much control over her. She's not able to make her own decisions. And one of the big things to note about this film is the way she's gaslit, especially from her husband, Guy. And it's done for a reason. He has agendas. The Castavets have agendas. The other people in the building, the other evil people, all have an agenda. Even the doctor, the new doctor, Saperstein, he's involved as well. And they gaslight her. She's on to him, goes to her original doctor, Charles Grodin. And as sweet as Charles Grodin character is, listening to Rosemary talk about witches and how they're controlling her and she needs safety. That's why I'm here. I need your help. It really looks like Dr. Hill / Grodin understands. And Rosemary will finally get the help she needs, the relief. And she feels safe talking to Dr. Hill. He tells her, we're going to help you. But first, lay down, relax, take a nap. And for the only point in the film where you feel good about stuff, it's here. When Rosemary lays down with a smile on her face, closes her eyes, but within seconds, Dr. Hill opens up the door to get Rosemary, and who comes in right after him? Dr. Saperstein and fuckhead guy. And I say to myself, what happened here? One of the things that upset me about the plot, about this film, was the deception of Dr. Hill, in a way. I thought he was going to help her. And I'm like, why? Is he involved? And I'm saying, is he involved? Not why is he involved, but is he involved with the cult? Is that why Dr. Hill betrayed Rosemary? Did he betray her? She asked for his help and safety. If a woman comes and visits her doctor today and says, Doc, I'm afraid of my husband. I'm concerned about my baby. Help me. Would they bring the husband? Would they contact the husband? No, I don't think so. I think it's a different time today. It goes to show you how different things were back then in 1968, where a doctor would go to the husband and put the woman back into the husband's arms. Bothers me. And the doctor she's afraid of, by the way. I don't care how high respected this Saperstein was in the community of doctors. Like, is Dr. Hill just an admiration of this other doctor and feels like, oh, this woman's just crazy. I don't like it. I don't like that. Like, this movie did it for me. Like, it got me upset. I was upset at Dr. Hill. Aren't you? She has to go home with Guy and this doctor, and I guess Polanski says it's one of his favorite parts in the film is those scenes where they're guiding her into the cab or the car to take her home, and the driver of the car gives Rosemary a nod, like that. Those little moments. Because the driver is also involved in the cult, and that whole sequence where she's almost giving in to all the people. It just, is she downtrodden? Is she just giving up? But she doesn't. She runs away from them, locks up the doors of her apartment, trying to get help. But ultimately, of course, they get her, and she goes into labor at that point. She gets a shot. And they tell her the next day or the day after, when she recovers, that the baby has died. They lost the baby. This crushes her. You have to understand this too about the film. Especially if you have a deep concern and love for the main character of Rosemary. All she wanted was a baby. That's it. And she went through so much just to have a baby. And when she's told that the baby's gone, no matter what the circumstances are surrounding this whole fucked up story. After all of this, the baby's dead? She doesn't believe it. And neither should anybody else in the plot line. So after some time, she hears a baby crying in the distance. She starts thinking thoughts. And now she has to figure out what the hell's going on once again. She doesn't believe her husband. She doesn't believe her doctor and everybody around her, helping her, nursing her back to health. She takes the pills that they're giving her and, puts them in the bedpost, and she's planning her escape to get to the Castevets their apartment to find out what the hell's going on. And here we go, the end of the film. What does it mean? Is it evil? Yes, it's evil. I mean, she gave birth to the devil? No, she gives birth to the devil's son. The bad seed, this creature, and she's betrayed by her husband most of all. I mean, her husband gave her up just so he could be a successful actor. And don't we all want to be successful actors, celebrities? That was his goal. And he ended up selling his soul and hurting his wife to be a star. Crazy. And when he goes up to her to try to explain it to her, she spits in his face. Loved it. It's hard for me to watch people getting spit on. Didn't mind this one. And I love you, John, but you deserved it. You don't see the baby. That was a main point that Polanski made in this film, and he even explained. You don't want to see the baby. You want to imagine. Your imagination is enough to put forth an image that'll be 20 times scarier than anything he can give. And it's all in Rosemary's reaction to what she sees. That's what he wanted. The image should flow through in Rosemary's reaction. And once again, props to Mia Farrow, who deserved an Oscar nomination. Robert Evans, the executive producer of this, felt the same way. And in the middle of the production, okay, we're sidetracking for just a moment, but in the middle of the production, halfway through, Frank Sinatra served divorce papers to Mia Farrow because he was jealous that she was doing a movie. He wanted her to just be a wife. He wanted her to give up acting, to just be there for him. This upset Mia very much. She wanted to quit the picture. Robert took her aside, showed her about an hour of what they had already on film, told her, Mia, you're wonderful. Mia, you're doing something nobody has ever done before. And I almost guarantee you, you are going to win the Academy Award for your performance. It was the words of Robert Evans that convinced Mia to stay on the project. Another example of how good Robert Evans was. Back to the ending. Mia's performance, Mia's reaction, Mia being a wonderful actress made this film great. It might have been good without her, but it was great with her. And then the decision in the plot of Rosemary accepting the devil child. Because how deep does a mother's love go? Extremely deep. So deep. She would accept an evil child. And ultimately, I want to believe that the goodness and kindness of Rosemary as a mother, her hope was to crack the seal of evil. And somehow, maybe in time, being a good mother, make him a beautiful, healthy, good human being. Thank you so much for listening to this edition of The Actors Room, highlighting one of those movies, folks. Ones that make you squirm, they make you feel, and they make you think. There ain't nothing like it. And I hope you enjoy Rosemary's Baby. If you've never seen it, see it. And I hope you enjoy the synopsis and critique, review, and discussion inside my mind and on this show. I hope everybody enjoys their Halloween season. I do. I can't believe it went so fast. I'm going to try to watch something tonight that I haven't seen in a while, maybe. Or, maybe something new. We'll see. As long as it's eerie, it's good enough for me. I'm going to wrap it up. Hope all is well. Go and watch that movie tonight, enjoy it, or watch your favorite show. Make it an artful night. You deserve entertainment. You deserve to watch a great performance. Something that makes you scratch your head or just make you feel good inside. I hope it does it for you. God bless you. Have a good one.